Delta is here to help people in pursuit of their goals. And with the ease of booking travel on the Fly Delta app, pursuing your goals has never been easier. You'll also get notifications as you go, giving you peace of mind throughout your journey.
Today is the day 28 teams report to mandatory minicamp, but not every player is showing up. Who's in, who's out, and which rookie quarterback is taking first team reps today? We're going to discuss it all next.
I'm Josina Anderson with the Giants. The team had expressed some hope to their wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. that he would do more than what he did for the first day of mandatory minicamp. I'll explain why.
I'm Sal Palantonio with the Philadelphia Eagles. Coming up on NFL Live, head coach Doug Peterson told me what he's working on behind the scenes going into the 2018 season. Coming up next.
I'm Mike Wells here at the Colts facility, and the biggest question is, will quarterback Andrew Luck throw a football for the first time in 8 months during the team's mandatory minicamp? And if not, when will the franchise quarterback throw a football?
I'm Stefano Fusaro with the Texans. Quarterback Deshaun Watson is back from the knee injury that derailed his rookie season. But will Houston's new offensive scheme be built to protect him? That and more coming up.
I'm Dan Graziano with the Browns, where wide receiver Josh Gordon has played just 10 games over the past 4 years due to multiple suspensions. Find out why he has reason to hope this time will be different.
Yeah, they got that quarterback Baker Mayfield there in Cleveland, too, that we're going to be talking about coming up in just a few. Hi, everyone. Welcome to NFL Live. Here on the desk, we got a former great player in Teddy Bruschi, a remarkable former GM in Bill Polian, and the greatest NFL insider in the game, Adam Schefter, next to me. I'm Diana Rossini. You know, every minute Odell Beckham Jr. gets healthier without a contract extension, it puts the Giants closer to a potentially ugly contract showdown. But today, the superstar receiver showed up. Step one here for mandatory minicamp, and he's been medically cleared. Odell has also been attending some of those voluntary practices leading up to minicamp. Here's head coach Pat Shurmur on Odell Beckham's current status.
Yeah, he did a good job today. So he was cleared to be out there, and he practiced, and he did a good job.
Pat, when you say cleared?
Cleared to practice. Cleared to practice. Let's not worry about it. He's cleared to practice, and that's what he was doing.
But there are different levels, like you said, each player.
He's out there practicing. So if you all want to count the reps, go ahead. But he was out there practicing. He's cleared to practice. I don't necessarily think it helps anybody to play the word game here.
Do you anticipate him doing team drills at all this week?
We'll see. This isn't the first time in the NFL we've talked about a player in a contract. So we just keep moving. We keep developing our relationship within what's going on, and then we move forward. And that's where it's at.
A lot of dancing around that one. Let's go out to Giants mandatory minicamp where we find Josina Anderson. Joe, what's the backstory behind what Odell did and did not on Giants' first day of minicamp here?
Well, Diana, according to a source, there was discussion Monday, as in the day before this mandatory camp started, expressing to Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. Of the team having hope, saying it would be nice for him to participate in some team drills. Additionally, after that, it was slid in there that there was an intention to announce that he was medically cleared. Now, just stop and think about that. Think about the pressure of announcing that he is medically cleared. Automatically, not only would you have to assume additional injury risk just like any other player, but more so for a player who has not secured his contract extension, and to make that more clear for people out there, his money bag. So it was always Odell's intention, according to a source, not to participate in team drills for safety reasons at this point in his progression rehabilitation, but also because you don't want to have anything else, happen out there. So there was a reason for that to be known prior to the team announcing today that he was medically cleared, as not to shift that narrative on him. Because after Pat Shurmur, guys, announced that at the press conference today, there was a lot of questions like you just heard. Well, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? Now stop and think how that would have sounded had that additional context not been out there this morning. So there was a reason for that.
All right, Josina, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. Also, we'll probably hear from Odell Beckham Jr. this week. We haven't heard from him since October of last season. So, guys, you heard Josina give the news there that Odell Beckham Jr. has been cleared. So, Bill, I want to put this on you first. Would you want to see Odell participate in team drills in this 3-day mandatory minicamp?
Probably not. There's no reason to do it. He's a veteran. He knows what's going on. It's a new offense. If he was 100% ready to go, not medically cleared, but 100% ready conditioning-wise, maybe. But if he doesn't feel he's there, or the strength and conditioning people don't feel he's there, don't risk anything now. Howard Mudd, our great offensive line coach with the Colts, used to say, we're not playing next Sunday.
Yeah.
We're playing in September.
There's a lot going on here for Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, of course, the contract is on his mind, and I think he's provided a sort of a olive branch to say, I'm here, I want to be with this team, and he's showing them that he wants to get this contract done. But still, full team participation in those drills, there is an injury risk. Players have gotten hurt before in mini camps, and these are 90-man rosters. There are some players out there right now that won't be on this team by the end of training camp and when September rolls around. So do you try to take care of this guy? I mean, he's trying to get there and show you he cares to be there with his team, but you still want to take care of him because you want him to last the entire 16 games.
So you heard Josina talk about how this could get pretty complicated. So, Adam, how do you believe the Giants are going to wind up playing this out?
Well, I think that they have an interest in signing Odell to a long-term deal at their number, in their time when they'd like to do it. And again, we've seen this offseason already roughly a half dozen players, most notably Hunter Henry, tear their ACL. Right. If you're Odell Beckham Jr. and you want your $17, $18, $19, $20 million a year, whatever the number is, we could debate what the number should and shouldn't be. It's a big number. You're going to be very careful going out and performing and running in any team drills, especially coming off an injury. It's a business for the teams, and it's a business for the player. The player has made a good faith effort to be there, which is more than some of the other players around the league. And he's done that after there's been some drama with him in the past. And now he's there, and I think he's saying, I want to do the right thing by the team. I want to try to be there. We have a new coach, new front office, try to be a part of this. Let's see if that helps jumpstart these contract talks that he would like to see result in a long-term deal before he's taking part in active team drills on a regular basis.
And some of these other players, Adam and Bill, that aren't there, that have totally subtracted themselves from the minicamp because they have contract situations, they don't have this dilemma. They don't have it because they're just subtracting themselves totally, saying, I'm not even going to go there to even put myself in a situation, because there are tempos. Say he does participate in a team, an 11-on-11 drill. What's his tempo compared to the tempo of a defense on the other side that's still trying to learn and is a bit uncomfortable out there? So those type of tempos, sometimes you tell them the tempo should be the same, but sometimes it's not, because you got a younger guy trying to make a team, and all of a sudden you get legs tangled up. Things can happen.
It's not uncommon to have DBs and wide receivers collide a little bit in these mini camps, especially young guys trying to make the team. It's frequent to hear the coaches yell, stay off the receivers, stay off the receivers. As much as they yell it, sometimes the receivers get knocked around. So sometimes discretion's the better part of valor.
But, Bill, even in cases like Hunter Henry, he's running downfield, untouched, no one around him.
It happens.
ACL blown out.
It happens. Unfortunately, it happens.
And that's a risk.
And I think we saw how devastated Odell Beckham Jr. was going off that field on the cart after he got hurt. I think that was in the Meadowlands.
So then why participate, though, Teddy? Why be here? Why is he here?
He's there with his teammates. He's participating in the meetings.
He's trying to be part of the show.
Going through individual. He's trying to do his work as best he can.
Willing to take that risk in case he could get hurt.
Certain risk. certain risk, limited risk.
Right. It's weird. I want to be here, but I still don't want to risk this big payday that potentially is coming up soon. But I'm here, coach, for the team. So it's almost like, do you come if you're one of these players like Odell Beckham Jr. is, and you have this debate with the trainers and the coaching staff, or do you just stay away and take the fine?
Yeah.
Sometimes staying away and taking the fine could be easier.
Which is why
I give him a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit for being there.
Yeah, me too.
I do too.
And doing what he can.
Too.
All right, guys, meantime, I'm going to show you something that we have not seen in a very long time. Colts starting quarterback Andrew Luck with a football in his hand. This could be the first time the media is actually seeing Luck throw a football. The Colts have been saying over the last few weeks that he's getting closer. I'm not sure if everyone's really buying it yet because it feels like we've been hearing those reports going on for a while. But here he is on the first day of Colts mandatory minicamp with a football.
That's a pretty
in
big
his
smile on his
hand.
face, too.
He looks happy.
That's pretty exciting.
You know, Matthew Hasselbeck had been on this desk with us a few weeks ago saying that this is the happiest and most confident he has seen Andrew Luck since his injury, and he believed that he was going to be out here, and there he is, Andrew Luck, with the football participating with the two other quarterbacks there in Indianapolis. So, guys, just initially back here in studio, Teddy, just your reaction from finally seeing Andrew Luck with that football in hand.
I get excited watching that because you've heard of the long road that it's been for Andrew, and to see him, I mean, he's flashing teeth. You can see it through that face mask, how happy he is, and just to throw that football and be out there probably feeling the leather on his hands, those type of things. It's what he's done since he was a child. So I'm just happy for Andrew to see this, first and foremost.
Bill, while you're not Chris Ballard, if you were in that position and you're seeing this with your eyes, what are you thinking?
Well, it's a step in the right direction. Obviously, they've seen him throw before. This is not probably the first time he's done it. And whether or not that's an official NFL ball or not is immaterial. He's throwing a football, so that's a good sign. And now we got a long road ahead, both in conditioning and in training camp.
But, Bill, as you know, as you've been told, as I've been told, all signs pointed to him being ready this summer. Certainly for the regular season opener against the Bengals, didn't seem like there were much doubt in the minds of Colts officials, Colts teammates, the people who know Andrew Luck. They expected him back for that regular season opener. This is the next step in that progression for him to be ready for that regular season opener. You're right. You notice the smile. Maybe it is a little bit of a smaller football. Maybe it's a college-sized football. He's still throwing a football. And last week, we heard Frank Reich say he was, quote-unquote, real close to doing it. Mm-hmm. Well, today was actual evidence of that, which we didn't get last year.
Bottom line is how he comes out of it when he has an extended throwing session. That'll be down the road.
Yeah, we'll see a little bit more from him. I know just in that video we just saw him kind of holding it there, but we will have a live report from Mike Wells in Indy coming up in just a few minutes. So we hit the Giants, we hit the Colts. Those are just 2 of 28 teams at mandatory minicamp today. So, guys, let's take some attendance around the league. We know Odell showed up today. Obviously, Andrew Luck's out there. But what about Le'Veon Bell? Adam, what do we know? What's the latest here with Le'Veon Bell?
Well, Diana, he cannot report because he has not signed his franchise tender, so it's a moot point until he signs. Last year, he did not sign that franchise tender until the week of the regular season opener. It wouldn't be a surprise if something similar happened this year. No Bell in Pittsburgh right now.
Earl Thomas said, nope, I'm not showing up. He put that out on Twitter, so what's the story here?
Hey, wants a new contract, wants that contract addressed, made it very clear that he is seeking the new deal that he believes that he deserves. We've seen this team in a state of transition. Earl Thomas, one of the most important members of that team, a future Hall of Fame safety, wants a new deal to pay for it right now.
How about Zach Martin, Adam? What do you got?
Zach Martin's in a situation here where are we going to do David Johnson? Or are we doing Zach Martin in a situation here where he is at the Cowboys complex today. They're closing in on an agreement. It is not done yet. And I think there's still some questions in the minds of some people about whether it will get done. I think the thinking is it will get done because Martin wants it to get done, but it's not done yet. And with it not done, he's still at practice right now.
Adam, you were all over the story yesterday on Khalil Mack. What's the latest here?
Not showing up in Oakland. And I think the Raiders' concern is, look, they're paying Derek Carr top dollar at the quarterback position, and it's hard to pay a quarterback top dollar and then pay a defensive player quarterback-like money. They'd like to get him signed, but they are not close to a deal right now, and Mack is staying away.
Yesterday, Bill Polian said pay the man when it came to Aaron Donald. What's the latest?
Well, the Rams would like to pay Aaron Donald. The issue is that these two sides have been going at this now for about a year and a half. No deal in sight. Don't appear any closer today than they were a year ago. And with no deal in sight, no Aaron Donald in L.A.
Late last night, the Falcons put out a press release saying that Julio Jones will not be at mandatory camp. What's going on here?
That's a rare step. You don't see teams usually announce that. And the Falcons are trying to figure out what they can do and how to handle this situation. Look, he's got 3 years left, $46 million guaranteed on his last deal. Maybe they do a Gronk-like deal, what the Patriots did last year, incentivizing Julio Jones, where if he plays like Julio Jones, he gets paid like Julio Jones. Right now, I think he's the 5th highest paid wide receiver in the game. Not happy with his contract, and it creates a difficult dilemma for both sides involved here.
We mentioned David Johnson real quick there. We saw on the attendance board there, no attendance. What's the latest there with David Johnson?
Look, when we go over the running backs in this league right now, I think that they're at something of a standstill. He is deciding to skip the mandatory minicamp this week. He's got 1 year left in his contract due to make $1.8 million this upcoming season. The Cardinals also have the franchise tag for 2019, 2020 if they want to use it. Now, what is the value of a running back that produces at his level, that doesn't have as much tread on his tire right now? It's hard to establish that. You can make the argument that he deserves more than some of these wide receivers have been paid, but there are no running backs that are being paid that in this day and age, even while running backs are becoming more and more important. Creates a tough situation for both sides to have to fight through, but this is one of those situations that I think threatens to drag on well into the summer.
Yeah, Diana, what you're seeing is these players, all of them that are holding out, hoping for contracts, this is hardball season. Hardball season for players telling these organizations they would like contract stability, and financial assurance going into a season where they know this sport, they know it can be over in one play, especially if you play the running back position, certain high-impact positions like that of the running back. So Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, even Odell Beckham Jr., a lot of these players have had past injuries also, and they're on their mind.
Yeah.
And they're thinking to themselves, listen, I want things to be right so my mind can be right going out there to play. And this is the player's biggest sort of hardball play, not going to minicamp, besides staying out of training camp, because I don't think they want to do that. But minicamp is the one where it's saying, I need this contract.
Yeah,
you talk about watching other players. We talked about Hunter Henry. There's a player, an undrafted player by the name of Jonathan Owens, who plays safety for the Cardinals. And during the voluntary OTAs, on a random play, suffered a significant knee injury. David Johnson saw that. He sees what can happen on just one play. So is it worth it for him? Bill, if David Johnson were on the open market after this year, what would he make in a year? What would be the guaranteed money?
He's not on the open market.
I understand that.
Let's deal with the facts.
Okay.
Each of these, by the way, are different situations.
Yeah.
They're all different. David Johnson has far less of a case than Le'Veon Bell does. But that said, everyone who has a contract is obligated to honor that contract. Just because they want a new contract doesn't mean they should get one.
You say far.
They have a contract to honor. They are not free agents. The CBA allows them to have free agency. They have not yet reached free agency. They do not have a contractual right to abrogate their contracts. That said, most general managers would try to end these things amicably if they can. But what I'm hearing here is because there's an injury risk, I should get a new contract. There's an injury risk for every player out there.
We're saying there's an injury risk.
These guys have 1 year left on, in Julio's case, 3 years. They have a contract that they should honor.
No. I'm not saying that because there's an injury risk, they should be paid. I'm telling you that in the mind of the player, there's an injury risk that enters into some of their actions.
And in the mind of the general manager, this player has an obligation to honor his contract.
That's fair, too.
Well, also in the mindset,
that's all I'm saying.
In the mindset of a player when they feel like they've, outperformed a rookie contract, if that's what it is, and going into a fourth or fifth year or whatever it is, I've outperformed it based on the performances of other players throughout the league. I've been grossly underpaid based on what the rookie contract was. I can see what they're saying with that, too.
Tell them to call their union. D. Smith, he's the one that negotiated this agreement. He's the one that did it. I didn't do it. Roger Goodell didn't do it. Rich McKay didn't do it. Nobody on management side did this. D. Smith agreed to it.
These players,
and if these players don't want to do what their union agreed to,
and these players didn't,
well, then if every player did, they're bound by the collective bargaining agreement.
This is their only recourse, though. This is all they got, Bill.
I'm not arguing with that.
Right.
What I'm saying is that they don't have a right to do this. They're taking some risk by doing it. They are not entitled to get a new contract.
And Aaron Donald's not entitled, but he's also made $1.8 million the last 2 years.
Call D. Smith.
Okay. So he's got to do what he's got to do.
That's perfectly fine.
To get fair.
Well, we clearly see why there's conflict sometimes here, because there's two sides to this, for sure.
Ryan, I don't know how else to say this, so I'll just say it.
What is it, Linda?
I think we should see other people.
Are you breaking up with me? On a roller coaster?
Well, we do have a lot of fun. Maybe we should stay together.
An emotional roller coaster? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I just need a little me time.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Back here on NFL Live, we've got 28 teams at mandatory minicamp, including the Houston Texans. Second-year quarterback Deshaun Watson coming off that ACL tear. Out on the field, the quarterback was wearing a brace during voluntary OTAs. It doesn't seem that he has one on right there. Remember, Watson also suffered a torn ACL as a freshman at Clemson, so he has been through this before. So let's head out to Houston, where we find our Stefano Pissarro, who's been out there watching practice for us, taking notes, giving us all the latest, covering the team for us.
Thanks, Diana. The Texans coaching staff is really looking to strike a balance between expanding the offense for quarterback Deshaun Watson in his second NFL season, still keeping in mind that he's still recovering from that major knee injury he suffered last season. Head coach Bill O'Brien said he doesn't want to fill his head with thoughts about not running and using his whole skill set on the field for the Texans. But quarterbacks coach Sean Ryan did say that he has really had that conversation with him several times, saying that he needs to understand when the play is over, he needs to go down to protect himself and also protect the team. Remember, the Texans did not win a game after Deshaun Watson hurt that knee after Week 7. Diana, back to you.
All right, thanks so much. So, guys, while Houston obviously wants to be real careful here, the question is whether the team will attempt to, curtail Watson's running in order to protect that knee. So Bill, I want to ask you first, what would you do here with Watson?
Well, you can only curtail it to the extent that you put in plays that are specifically designed for him to run. You can take those out of the offense. But once he's in this position where he has to extend a play, or he has daylight in which to run and the play is broken down, then it's up to him. The key thing is what Sean Ryan told him. When the play is over, it's over. Go down. Don't take unnecessary risk. That's what hurt RG3. He frequently tried to end every single play to the nth degree. You got to know when to say uncle in order to protect yourself. But scripting designed runs, as happened with Marcus Mariota last year, I'm certain Bill O'Brien won't do.
Yeah, this is where there's a point in this offense when you have a player like this at the quarterback position where the offensive coaches have no control because they call the play, and it may be a straight drop back play and not one of those design runs, but it eventually becomes a Deshaun Watson play. That's what it becomes because the play will break down. Now it's all on him, and the coach will just sort of sit back and you watch. It's like, what's he going to do now? So that type of play, that type of control that he has and how he plays that way, it won't change. It won't change. His explosive ability is going to be obvious. He's going to use it because it's so valuable to that offense.
Is this not the conversation we've had every year about Cam Newton? And is it not the conversation we're going to have about Carson Wentz? And is it not the conversation we've had about Ben Roethlisberger? And we could go through this with any number of quarterbacks. This quarterback was as dynamic and as electric as any quarterback in the game last year when he was on the football field. And had he stayed healthy, I think this team would have made it to the playoffs and it would have had a chance to do damage. And if he can stay on the field, Deshaun Watson, and stay healthy, they become a formidable football team in Houston. So his health is imperative. But what makes him so dangerous is his ability to run around and create plays and make something out of nothing.
Well, he's not reckless. I mean, there's a difference between being reckless and making plays. And he's not reckless and never has been. He wasn't that way at Clemson either. The fact that he's had 2 knee injuries is worrisome. But he doesn't have a brace on, so that's a good sign. But, you're not going to a guy who's not reckless but who makes plays, that's, as you say, that's him. He's not going to change.
Right, with Cam Newton, there is that element where I will use my body. I'm bigger than you, Mr. Linebacker.
Run you over.
Deshaun's not that way. He doesn't have that same physical strength that Cam has in terms of a runner, but absolutely still similar.
And he's never been that way. He's never taken on linebackers and safeties. Cam seeks them out.
What about Carson Wentz? Because we're going to have the same conversation about him.
Oh, that's going to be another.
Carson's been an active quarterback his whole career. But there's a difference between being active and reckless.
Yes, we're going to discuss Carson Wentz coming up in just a few minutes.
reckless.
And Adam painted a good picture.
You want him to go down.
As a small reminder, right? Watson amassed 1,700 yards passing, 19 touchdown passes, the most TD passes by any player in NFL history in those first 7 games before that injury. So he's obviously quite valuable there in Texas. Meantime, pretty much has become the story of the day now. Andrew Luck out on the field. The Colts, one of 28 teams in mandatory practice. Andrew with the football in his hand. Let's take a listen.
Progress has been my guiding light, and I've just made progress. That's all I've done. If I wasn't making progress, it would freak me out. I've not picked up the Duke and started throwing it yet. I'm trusting the process that I'm in right now very, very much. There's still a bit of the journey left, and I am not going to skip any steps. I need to stay this course.
That was, of course, Andrew Luck over the last few months as he prepared to get ready to get back out on the field. And there he is. We've been talking about how happy he looks to actually have a football. The Colts have said he's close. They said it just as early as last week. And there he is. Guys, your reaction to just seeing this?
Well, the first thing he said was it's not the Duke. So he's not throwing an official NFL ball. And that's the way it looked because the NFL ball doesn't have stripes on it. Secondly, he's on schedule. He's telling you he's on schedule. The Colts people are telling us he's on schedule. Everything is working well, so just stay with the process.
All right, well, let's head out to Indy where we find our Mike Wells, who closely covers the team for us. Mike, so what have you been able to observe from Andrew Luck out on the field?
Well, good afternoon, Diana. Basically, it's finally, after 8 months, Andrew Luck took the football field about 10 minutes after the team started practicing, jogged out from the indoor facility, grabbed a smaller ball like Bill Polian just alluded to, and started throwing the ball in some drills with some of the equipment managers. He was throwing the ball with former Colts receiver Reggie Wayne. But the biggest news is Andrew Luck is finally back. He hasn't played in a game since Week 17 of the 2016 season. Obviously didn't play last year. Shut down in October because of continued soreness in that right shoulder. But General Manager Chris Ballard, owner Jim Irsay, and Andrew Luck continue to say that they expect Andrew Luck to be their starting quarterback in Week 1 of the 2018 season. Luck said a couple weeks ago that his goal was to be out here at the start of training camp at the end of July and not have any kind of restrictions on his shoulder. Yes, the ball is smaller. It looks like a college-sized football. Coach Frank Wright and Andrew Luck will address the media after the team finishes up their first day of minicamp practice. That's when Luck will be able to address why he's using a smaller football. But this is the first step in Andrew Luck finally playing in his first football game in a year and a half. So it's a positive sign for the Indianapolis Colts today.
All right, good stuff, Mike. Thanks so much for joining us. Guys, my first thought when I was listening to Mike report on that was, while the cameras were rolling today, perhaps this wasn't the first time Andrew Luck has actually thrown the football. But, Bill, would there be any reason why the Colts would want Andrew out there throwing with the cameras rolling? Is there a thought process behind there, a PR side to this?
Yeah, they're probably satisfied that he's on schedule and everything's going well. And the fact that he's out there throwing the ball in less than competitive circumstances is an indication that the process is moving forward. It's visual evidence of that, and they don't have to answer the question.
And I'm sure he started with balls smaller than that in his rehabilitation process. And, of course, if that's a college football or a high school football, they're smaller, they're lighter, they're shaped differently. So, eventually moving to the NFL-sized football, the Duke, as Andrew Luck put it. But what we're looking before our eyes, what we're seeing is, I mean, hate to use a cliche, trust the process type of the Colts version. I mean, this is their version here in terms of what happened last time. And Andrew Luck sort of alluded it that he sort of went off on his own. He tried to push himself too much. So can he stick to the plan? Because they're giving him the plan, but can he hold it back himself to not want to push it too far where he takes a step backward?
What he did before didn't work. Something went wrong last year, obviously. And there clearly is a plan in place right now because, by all accounts, those there said that none of the throws traveled beyond 10 yards, that most of the throws were between 5 and 10 yards. And while they're not long throws, it is something, and it is progress, and it is part of this process that he's now following along, that everybody has him scripted up, and we talked about this ramping up. It's June 12th, right? July 12th, maybe he's doing a little bit more, and August 12th, even more. Certainly by the time September 12th rolls around, you would think he'd be ready to go in a game.
Translated to a baseball pitcher with an injury. We read about it and hear about it every day during this time of year. When a pitcher's down for any period of time, the first thing he does is play catch on the side, soft toss on flat ground. And then he goes to long toss. And then he'll throw off a mound and then take a couple days off to rehab. And then he's back and the process goes forward. And it's a long process before he finally goes to a rehab start in the minor leagues. Exactly the same process being followed here. And it's on schedule, obviously.
And if this is on schedule and it gets to him playing for Doug Peterson in that offense, and it's an offense where they'll want that ball out of his hands quickly, catch and run type of plays, exploiting matchups so he doesn't hold on to the ball and get rid of it. And so this offense is also catered to him to get rid of that football to stay healthy also.
And also, look, we talked about Deshaun Watson. Are they going to have plays that limit his exposure, limit his running bill going forward?
Well, they've never really had designed runs for him. His injuries have come because he tries to finish every run. And I don't know that he has a baseball background. I'll bet they've worked a lot with him on sliding.
Yeah.
And he needs to slide. He can't be exposing that shoulder to hips.
Maybe if RG3 could have learned how to slide, maybe his
might be. Yes, exactly right.
Maybe we'll loan him A-Rod and one of our guys. So Andrew Luck is going to be talking to the media reporters in just a few. So we're going to bring that to you on NFL Live as soon as he wraps up. Back here on NFL Live, OTAs, at least mandatory minicamp, is going down right now. And, Carson Wentz has been on the field participating in individual drills, some competition drills, including 7-on-7s at those voluntary OTAs. So the Eagles, one of 28 teams with mandatory minicamp today. We know that Philly's being very cautious with Wentz. They won't put any of those timetables on his recovery. But the quarterback, when he has spoken to the media, he has said that he has felt very confident that he will be ready to go come week 1. Well, here's how it goes around here. If we need to know what's going on in Philly, there's only one man that knows it all, and that's our Sal Paolantonio. Sal, from your observations there out on the field, I know you're checking out practice. What more can you tell us about Carson Wentz?
Oh, Diana, I just came from practice right behind this building, and I can tell you number 11 looks great. He's moving well. He's obviously limited in terms of the team drills that he can do, but in the individual drills, he is moving well, and the ball is coming out of his hands with velocity. But you got Nick Foles on this side as a Super Bowl MVP. You got the franchise quarterback knocking on the door. He wants his team back. I asked Doug Peterson, how is it all working? How are they keeping it all in check? And he said it's because the two of them are very good friends.
Their relationship is great. I just think there's no egos involved. They're in this thing together. Both support each other. Nick supported Carson during the season last year. Then Carson turned around and supported Nick at the end of the year. Their relationship is carried over into into this spring and summer, and it's really good.
By my calculations, we really only have 3 more months for Carson Wentz to get really back on track to start from this injury that he sustained on December 10th. And as anybody knows, coming back from that knee injury, number one, you got to be able to protect yourself from the rush. Can he get out of the way of the rush? And we really won't know that until he starts playing in the preseason games. That is the bottom line. That's what's going on behind the scenes here. In the building, I can tell you the Super Bowl 52 rings arrived today. Teddy Bruschi's got 3 of them, right, Teddy? You always held those 3 fingers up to me like
They're
that.
in the building,
Sal,
baby.
that's 3. I remember that.
They're in the building.
That's right. The Eagles, they're going to get those Super Bowl rings on Thursday night. They're going to have a private ceremony. So is it that much fun? Because I remember seeing some of the Instagram videos of the Patriots last year or 2 years ago, and they looked amazing. Those parties good?
There's a moment you'll never forget when that box is in front of you and you open it. And you see it for the first time. You'll never forget.
Well, we're watching Ovi in D.C. right now. Enjoy it all.
It'll be a great moment for all of them.
Winning's fun, Teddy. Who knew, you know? All right, guys. So you heard Sal here talk about Carson Wentz. He estimates about 3 more months until he's healthy. He mentions Nick Foles. We know they're friends. Nick Foles has proved he can win a championship, right? Technically, Carson hasn't. So how do they get a handle this situation here? Let's start with the beginning of this season, depending on how this works out. Bill, how do you think?
Sal mentioned preseason games. Is he going to be playing in preseason games?
I don't know about that. I mean, he looks like he's moving around pretty well based on what we're seeing there. I think that's a decision that they'll make as they reach the preseason. So there's a long way to go on that. This is Carson Wentz's team. Doug Peterson said that when he's healthy and back, he's ready to go. Nick Foles will be in the bullpen and ready to go as he did last year, and that's the way it'll be. Simple as that.
Yeah, and chomping at the bit is an understatement for Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Because just imagine being on a potential MVP type of track of a season last year and then having to watch your team go on to win a Super Bowl and then Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl MVP playing quarterback. So this guy is mentally, the mental state that he's in is that he wants to go full go right now. I'm ready to go. And that's what Doug Peterson and that staff is going to have to say. Pump the brakes a little bit. Well, let's make sure you're our guy. You are our guy. But we got this kid by the name of Nick Foles can buy you as much time as you need.
And that's a discussion I'm sure they've already had with him. With a young player, you have to counsel him, don't try to go too fast. It's a long season. You're going to have a long career. Don't force this thing. Don't try to get back in the lineup. Don't be high school Harry and get back in the lineup when you're not 100%.
Yeah.
We need you at 100%.
Even with high school Harry there in Philadelphia, he's still making progress at a faster rate than I think most people thought. And you don't want to rush it because he is their future, he is their franchise, and they know how important he is. But by all accounts, he is recovering at a faster and more rapid rate than anybody would have expected. And he slowly is getting on target and on track to play in that regular season opener, which would have been unthinkable a while back, considering the 9 to 12-month timeline that doctors laid out once he suffered the torn ACL in December. But now, again, I think they want to manage this correctly. They don't want to rush it. They don't want to be premature here. The guy that could have won the regular season MVP lost out on that award, and the guy won the Super Bowl MVP. They have both those quarterbacks, and if again, Carson Wentz is healthy, he'll start the opener.
Such good problems to have. It's going to be difficult to manage, but at least, you have a wealth of goods there in Philly.
Delta strives to take the stress out of travel so you can focus on what comes next. And Delta Comfort Plus can help. With Sky Priority boarding, extra legroom, and a wide selection of unlimited complimentary snacks, you can arrive refreshed, ready to take on the world.
You know, we've been spending so much time talking about these veterans at mandatory minicamp, but how about the new guys, the young ones, the rookies? Let's begin with quarterback Baker Mayfield. The rookie will take the field later today. The number 1 overall pick in April's draft he actually elevated to second-team offense during voluntary OTAs. Head coach Hugh Jackson played it all down to the media, though, said he just wanted to try it out. Tyrod Taylor continues to take all of the repetitions with that first-team offense. Here's wide receiver Jarvis Landry on his quarterbacks.
Just the accuracy, the leadership, obviously, but, the ways that these guys take the field every day and have been throwing the football, and when the pocket breaking down, their eyes are still down the field. You think of these guys that dual threat quarterbacks and, they want to run as soon as everything goes bad in the pocket. But these guys are looking to extend the play with their arm, but they can with their feet as well. And that's the beauty of this whole thing.
He was here with us in studio yesterday. Now he's with the Browns in Cleveland. Dan Graziano joining the show. Dan, Gordon has played just 10 games in the past 4 years due to those multiple suspensions. So why are he and the Browns hopeful things are going to be different this time?
Diana, it just really seems right now like Josh Gordon is in a much better place in his personal life. Listening to him today, he sounded like a guy who's been through rehab and is in recovery, which is, of course, what he is. He talked about small victories, taking it one day at a time, and he said, if I'm blessed to wake up the next day, I'll attack it with the same mentality and the same mindset. He said, life is great right now. That's all I know. The other thing he said, which was interesting, this is the first time he's ever been through OTAs and off-season minicamp. Remember, he was a supplemental draft pick and, of course, all the suspensions. So this is really the first time he's had a chance to go through an off-season program and get himself ready for the season that way. So a lot of talk around Josh Gordon about the structure in his life and how much that's benefiting him. Part of that being a part of this team in May and June.
Dan, what could Josh Gordon mean to this Browns team if he's able to go all 16 games for really the first time since 2012?
He said that he thinks the Browns have the best wide receiving core in the NFL, which sounds like a big boast at this point, but adding Jarvis Landry, they still have Corey Coleman, the former first-round pick, a lot of talent there on that offense, and Gordon is a difference maker. The new people in the front office here have said that they've been amazed by the size of him, the speed, how strong his hands are, what an incredible route runner he is. I think we forget because it was 5 years ago in 2013 when Josh Gordon led the league in receiving in spite of missing 2 games. But he still looks like a guy who can perform at that level. And given the improved structure and peace he seems to have found in his personal life, there's a lot of reason for optimism about Josh Gordon here in Cleveland.
All right, Dan Graziano, thanks so much. The Browns will be out on the field over the next hour or so. Dan, thanks so much. Meantime, there were 9 mistakes made ahead of me. That's what Cardinals rookie quarterback Josh Rosen boldly proclaimed at the NFL draft back in April. Well, today, Rosen takes his next step of walking the walk after talking the talk as he participates in his first full-time or full-team mandatory minicamp. This video was from just about an hour ago. Rosen out there with his team. Let's see if he's able to back up all of his words. Meantime, let's go out to Buffalo where rookie Josh Allen, where Josh Allen has been taking third-team reps, but has actually been moved up out there with the other quarterbacks, Nate Peterman, of course, A.J. McCarron. They've been splitting reps with the first-team offense. Allen running the threes, but head coach Sean McDermott says that the rookie's now going to be taking first-team reps.
Well, Josh is going to continue with the third group like he's done before. What we'll do periodically is give Josh some reps with the ones. That's all part of his development plan, and really a chance for us to evaluate our entire roster as well from top to bottom. So he'll still work with the threes by and large, and Nate and AJ will continue with the ones and twos there. But we'll throw Josh in from time to time moving forward.
All right, let's welcome you inside the Verizon film room. I want to begin with Adam Schefter here. We heard Coach McDermott explain what the plan is here. So why are they giving him these first-team reps?
Well, I think you want to get him out there at a time like this where you can do this. I think that the overwhelming chances are that A.J. McCarron is going to be this team starter to open the season. Nathan Peterman is going to have a chance to challenge for the job at this point in time. Those are the 2 guys that they're targeting. But they know that Josh Allen's the future. They want to give him some exposure to starting defenses, get him some work there. But the fact of the matter is, when the season opens, I believe A.J. McCarron or Nathan Peterman is going to be this team's starting quarterback.
I said be careful. Be careful the more you show him in those first-team reps, because not only are the coaches watching him in film, but all the veterans are saying, okay, what's this kid look like? You're looking at him on the field. You go to the film room defensively, and also you're looking to see how he did versus you. And then all of a sudden, you got some veterans thinking, we got this kid that he's coming up. You got a little excitement amongst the team because these are veterans that were members of a playoff team last year. And now you're saying, are we rebuilding? What are we doing? But we want to go back to the playoffs, so they want to continue to have that type of success.
Bill, is there ever pressure on a team to play one of their top draft picks like this? Like, did the Browns move Baker Mayfield up to the second team because he's a number 1 overall pick? Are they giving him first-team reps to show that this was a good choice for them? Is there pressure with an organization for this?
Never in any organization I've been with. As a matter of fact, our whole mantra, every team I've ever been with, is you have to earn it on the field. One thing Marv Levy taught me long before you were born, unfortunately, for me, is that we made no evaluations until after the first preseason game. No general manager, no scout, no coach ever made any evaluations of anybody until we played the first preseason game. So we had all of minicamp, all of training camp, and then the first preseason game to make judgments. At that point, we said, here's where the players are, let's rank them, and now let's think about getting ready for the opener and how we stack them up. That's the way Tony Dungy did it, and I suspect that's the way Sean McDermott's going to do it.
So no point in making judgments just yet, but still interesting.
Not enough evidence.
The fact that they're getting out there with the first team, and I'm so glad I lied to you and told you I was 23 before the show. Back here on NFL Live, Adam Schefter, Teddy Bruschi, Bill Polian. I'm Diana Rossini with you. We are all here today. 28 teams at mandatory minicamp. All players are required to be at this minicamp, and if they skip, they're subject to fines up to $84,000 if they miss all 3 days. So you're taking a look here at who showed up, and it seems that right now Odell Beckham Jr. and Zach Martin are the ones that have shown up that were perhaps a little questionable. Adam, any latest news coming out of any of these camps, of any names that aren't on this list?
The one name that's not there, who's not present at mandatory minicamp this week, is the Titans offensive tackle Taylor Lewan. Obviously, when the player's not there, seeking out a new contract, so put Taylor Lewan into the absent category of a player seeking a new deal.
All right, that's it. So we're taking a look at this list. Teddy, which one of all these names that you see on this little clipboard here concerns you the most?
I look at the bottom to Julio Jones, Diana, because he's a player now that has 3 years left on his contract. Just signed a deal a couple years ago that had, I believe, $47 million guaranteed. I mean, this is a guy where you drafted a first-round talent with, I think it's Calvin Ridley from Alabama. And then you also have multiple players that are going to be watching this, because there are players on the defensive side of the ball that are almost next in line too. Because you just signed Matt Ryan, you signed Julio Jones a couple years ago, you draft the number 1 pick on the offensive side of the ball in the receiving room, and so now to pay Julio Jones again, that's a lot. You're really top heavy there on that offensive side of the ball. These are some of those Atlanta Falcons that are coming up very, very soon. Great players like linebacker Deion Jones, safety Keanu O'Neal. Some of this you have to think about it in terms of, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, these guys are coming up too. And there's a point where you have to make sure you have these guys. You're going to have to pay them also.
Not only that, but you can't allow a second renegotiation after you've done one. This has to be finessed. Julio's a great player and a great teammate, and the Falcons are doing and saying all the right things. But this is a finesse deal. You can't redo the contract.
So what does finesse mean, Bill? What do you do?
You add some incentives, create a package that incentivizes him, that pays him more money if he performs at the same level he's been performing at the high all-pro level. What the Pats did with Gronkowski last year.
Who had 3 years left in his contract at the time
correct.
As well.
Yeah.
So it was a similar type of structure, and now Gronk's got 2 years left, and there's been discussions about some sort of incentivizing there as well, some finessing in New England.
Does that seem to work, incentives? It seems to get the player motivated?
If the agent is reasonable and wants to get the player paid, yes. If the agent's trying to make a point with the club and separate his player from the club, then no.
Adam, you weren't here yesterday, but Bill Polian said something I've never heard him say before. He said, pay the player, when we were talking about Aaron Donald. So you hear Bill Polian. We know what his opinion is here. What's the latest here with Aaron Donald?
Again, the two sides have been talking now for a year and a half, and I don't know that they're any closer to a deal today than they were at any point in this 18-month cycle here. So Aaron Donald's not at the mandatory minicamp, and I think at some point in time, if you're the Rams and you're struggling to get arguably the best defensive player in football under contract, maybe you go and take some of those riches and you begin to spread them elsewhere, right? Because LaMarcus Joyner is their franchise player. He's going to have to get signed. You've got Marcus Peters out there. They just traded a first-round pick for Brandon Cooks. Todd Gurley's going to want some money at some point in time. There's a lot of players that they have to pay, a lot. And they've been planning to pay Aaron Donald, but the two sides can't get an agreement on it. If that's the case, at some point, you got to go take care of the other players. And I get the sense that day may be coming at some point here relatively soon.
And who's the player that's going to hold all of them together once maybe, say, they lose a couple games? It's, for me, it's got to be Aaron Donald, because that's why I think I don't say this very often, is that the success of this team, I think, will be based on the fact that Aaron Donald is a happy man and has his contract, because you got Sue coming in, Peters, Talib, all of these guys almost sort of in a independent contractor type of role. If your franchise player also has that mentality, what's my motivation to keep everyone together here? You didn't show me any loyalty, so when things start falling off the hinges, I'm just going to let it go, because I don't know if you guys want me around too. You got to get his mind right so we can lead that team.
This is a really difficult situation. There's three parties to any negotiation: the club, the player, and the agent. This is the best player at his position in football and the hardest player on defense to find. By that I mean the position. If you get an all-pro defensive tackle who can rush the passer, that's gold. So he's going to get some gold, and should. If the agent overreaches and tries to get him paid like a quarterback, now you're into territory that's uncharted, number one, and number two, the club may not want to go there.
So what happens if that is the case and the club can't go there and won't go there? What happens then, Bill?
Then you got to apply the franchise tag when it's appropriate, number one, and that would be a heck of a lot less than quarterback money for a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
And number two, hope that at some point you've offered enough guaranteed money that the player will say, I'm going to do what's in my best interest, not what the agent tells me to do.
I like that, Aaron.
Sometimes maybe get a new agent. Because quarterback money for a three technique's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I do like that Aaron Donald brings out the best in both of you. You both say things that I never hear you say on this show. So I'm all in on this. More discussion of Aaron Donald. Meantime, here on NFL Live, we've got 28 teams in minicamp today, so we put 28 seconds on the clock. We're going to rip through the big stories around minicamp. So let's begin, guys, with the Steelers and Antonio Brown. After missing OTAs, Brown returned to the team after missing nearly 3 weeks. Well, here he is on his absence.
I'm constantly under the pressure. I can't go nowhere and work out by myself. Fans come meet me at the field. I can't do nothing normal. You guys write about me every day. My mom, my kids see it. So we have to deal with these type of things, and I started to think to myself, am I really free? I can't really express myself in this game. I can't really tell you guys how I feel. You guys make the pressure to put pressure on me all the time. Am I really free? And I go to asking myself that in regards to taking away time from my kids and everything that's going on. So I had to get away to, free my mind.
What did you learn from that process?
Well, I'm still under pressure. You guys in my face asking me about not showing up to volunteer practice. That's the world we live in, though.
All right, Teddy Bruschi, you got 28 seconds on the clock on our minicamp madness. You concerned?
Yeah, no, I'm not. He's right. There's always pressure on the NFL players, especially one as high profile as Antonio Brown. But I say, yes, take the off season, the non-mandatory times, get your mind right. Do what you got to do. Yes, everybody's going to follow you around. Social media is such a big presence now in a lot of the lives of a lot of players and fans. They care about where you are, even off the field. But get your mind right. Do what you got to do. That's okay. Take your time. Come back refreshed.
My man,
whom much is given, much is required.
That is also true. Yes.
Good work, too. Meantime, let's talk about the Jets, guys. The New York Daily News reporting this. It reads, I don't want to overreact here, but Teddy Bridgewater looks real good. Bill Polian, I've been out at practice, and I've been hearing lots of this from the players, from the coaches. Of course, it's still really early. We don't want to overreact just yet. So, Bill, can I get your reaction to Teddy Bridgewater looking really good right now in 28 seconds?
Well, I'm thrilled because he suffered a horrendous injury last year, and he's such a good kid. He's worked hard, led his team to the playoffs, did all he had to do to have them succeed a couple years ago. If he's back and 100%, he's going to be a good player in this league, and he's going to be a good player for the Jets. And good for Teddy. I'm rooting for him.
An interesting quarterback dynamic there with Josh McCown, the starter, Teddy Bridgewater, and, of course, that rookie Sam Darnold there. It's finally
crazy watching that clock, isn't it?
It is.
Do you feel a little pressure?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. All right, Adam, here we go. So we head to New Orleans. Third story here. Mark Ingram showed up today at minicamp, but you're reporting Jamal Charles visited with New Orleans.
Well, he's scheduled to visit there Wednesday, Diana. They had Tim Hightower visiting the Saints today. Mark Ingram back at mandatory minicamp after missing voluntary all OTAs, and now Jamal Charles coming in. With Ingram on the 4-game suspension, wouldn't hurt to bring in another veteran, whether that's Hightower, whether that's Jamal Charles, whoever it is. Teddy, I got this easy. We do this all the time. So Jamal Charles will visit Wednesday. The Saints looking for more depth at the running back position. Time to stay.
We showed you video earlier of Andrew Luck throwing a football and what a great sight it was. Well, we found out that football he was throwing, a Wilson TDS 1205, that's a high school size football. Bill, you hear that? And what's your reaction?
Great.
You got to start somewhere.
Right. When do you go to the next one?
Whenever the doctor said and the trainer says, do it.
That's the right answer.
So easily the best news we've heard out of Indy in quite a long time. So that'll do it for us on a really big day here on NFL Live. We will see you guys all tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us.